That's the last warning. We're going to get started. Welcome to the 5,437th meeting of this fine Rotary Club. It's great to be with all of you today. Very special thank you to the executive chefs for being in our greeting line. That's going to be real fun at the barbecue. Brad Barron, you ready for a fine? Okay. I mean business today, people. Listen, I'm going to use a clinical term right now. I'm dragging ass today. I am tired. So I've woken up in 5 cities and I've had 2 red eyes this week since I saw you last. So please forgive me if I'm not my normal enthusiastic and energetic self. I promise I'm regressing to the mean, if you will. Welcome to our Rotarians and guests. Sarah, please come on up and lead us in song.
With all the joyous enthusiasm, I want you all to stand up, and I know that I'm going to see some smiling faces. Here we go. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Thanks for the smiling faces.
Thank you, that was good. Appreciate that. We've got only one birthday today, and that's Abe Wolcott. He's actually on a leave of absence while he's teaching in New York, but we wish him a very happy day nonetheless. Please make sure to wish a very happy birthday to the other Rotarians listed. And now it's time for guest introductions and visiting Rotarians. Our traveling mics today are, all right, I see Kelly. So Kelly Dipple, Terry, oh yay, Terry's here too. Terry, could you please start with a brief introduction of yourself?
Hi, my name is Terry Tran, and I'm a chiropractor. My sponsor is Karen Fox.
Perfect. And Kelly?
Thank you, President Karen. I am Kelly Dipple. I am in real estate with Coldwell Banker, and Sarju Naran was my sponsor.
Perfect. All right, please stand if you have a guest or you're a visiting Rotarian, and we'll have our microphones go clockwise for our Zoomers. So, Kelly or
food line. He's in the food line.
Terry, can you please come on up? Okay, Blake. There you go.
Hi, Blake Ward here. I'm with the Agency Real Estate Group. My sponsor is Helen Lambert. Helen, where are you at? There you are. Hi, Aunt Helen. My 2 guests today, Aaron Delacroix and Mojgan Nematolahi, they're both my coworkers here at the agency. So, yeah.
I like it. They bring the energy. Nice. Yeah. Nice to have you today.
President Karen. Hello, over here.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Mike Bohr, marketing and stuff.
Cool.
I'm back here with Artie Arian, who just filled his application this week.
Yay. All right, Ari.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm supposed to say he's with Renewable America Energy Company, Green Energy Company.
Welcome. All right.
Hi, President Karen.
Hi, Mike Block.
Good to see you. And even with all of that travel, you're still more bubbly than 90% of us in this room. So just to clarify, it's a real treat for me to introduce you all to Nick Giacalone. Nick's a vice president of The Best Electrical Company, one of our great business partners, 3rd generation San Jose business electrical contracting here. So please welcome Nick.
Very cool.
Hi, President Karen.
Hi, Sarju.
Sarju Naran, employment law and Hoag Fenton and stuff. My guest today is Toddy. She's the events director at Urban Putt. If you all have not been, I encourage you all to go. Toddy went to college at Southern Oregon University, but we've got her now.
All right.
President Karen, Norm
Yes, Norm.
Holberg, Real Estate Appraising. My guest here for the 3rd time, and we all know what that means, Rachel Thomas, the managing partner of Greenfield Law.
Oh, wonderful. And Rachel, there was a great picture of you in the bulletin a couple of weeks ago. So nice to see you again.
Hi, President Karen.
Deanna, I missed you.
Persai. I missed you too. I have John Silva back for his second meeting, and he is a workforce development consultant with John Silva Consultation.
All right. Johnny.
Hi, President. I'm Johnny Camus. My sponsor was Catherine Tompkinson, and I have two guests today, Anya Agahian and Catherine Pendleton. They run a media consulting company, and they are actually the directors of the Alameda Business Association, and they're very proud to be with us today and very interested in becoming members.
Very interested in having you join. Nice to see you today. John Ball, you're back.
Yes, I am back. Hi, I'd like to introduce my guest and friend as he stands. This is Rick Weber. Many of you may know he's the Associate Director of Facilities and Property Management at Via West, and he goes back many years there, going back to when Kay Walker ran that organization. So please welcome Rick Weber.
Oh, wonderful.
Hi, President Karen. Larry Stone, County Assessor. Yeah, because I see so many old timers here today, I want to say that my sponsor was Peter Carter. Yeah, I'm not a little Peter Carter. My guest today is my wife, Carmen.
Oh, we love her. Hi, Carmen. That's a good juxtaposition. Carl.
Hey, President Karen. This is my guest of 30 years. His name is Gary Lopiccolo. He's my neighbor of 30 years. He's my guest for the first time because I told him that Bert was the program and Bert was pouring. Not in that order he came.
I get that. And you'd be a very unwelcome house guest at that length of time. So I'm glad it was the neighbor. Jaime.
Hello, President Karen. I want to introduce my friend and guest from colleague from Silicon Valley Bank, Melanie Raley.
Hi, Melanie.
President Karen, I'm pleased to introduce for a second time Jorge Taborga, our neighbor and prospective member. He just applied today, so we're holding out hope for that. Thank you.
Thank you, and I like your shoes. Those are cool.
Hello, President Karen. My name is Mark McKenna, and I was sponsored by Mike Conniff. And my guest today is Diana Duong. She is from Robert Half. And we're very pleased to have Donna here with us because she's going to follow up our meeting here with a meeting with the Refugee Support Committee when we're going to be able to discuss how Robert Half and Rotary can collaborate to promote employment opportunities for refugees settling in Silicon Valley.
Wonderful mission.
President Karen, Chris Metzger with me today. My guest is Andy Kreider, retired accountant and legal counsel for high tech in the area, and since become a very accomplished chef, and just happens to be my wife's first boss when she crashed.
Oh, and you were an interactor, if I recall correctly, from our elevator conversation. See, it's coming up through the ranks there. Nice to see you.
Hi, James Williams. I'm pleased to introduce a good friend of mine, Cliff Wilworth of Wilworth Architectural Design in Willow Glen, and he also joined us for the wine tasting at Bert's.
Great.
So he's loving Rotary.
Nice to have you. All right. Now, Vic LeBou, where are you? Look, Vic is back. Vic is in the meeting. He's in the house. Woo! And he promises he'll make at least one more meeting during my tenure, and I'm going to hold him to it. And a special welcome back to Emily, too, who is with us today. So glad you're here, Emily. All right. Let's hear what's happening around town. Come on up, Sal.
Only two more. Hey, you look great if you're dragging ass today. So. All right, welcome to, it feels like summer, but we're still in spring. So welcome, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this weather. Lots going on over the next few days and weeks, so much so that I don't even have slides for it all. Well, I got a little lazy too, and I stopped at some point and said, okay, I'm just going to mention things. So tomorrow, those block parties are back that were in downtown San Jose last year. The first one of the season's kicking off in the Historic District. That's, of course, around the Bank of Italy, Fountain Alley, 2nd Street, around the Improv, and Post Street. So if you remember, there's going to be live music. You can stop by restaurants. There's probably going to be food trucks out there. But the whole idea is to get a lot of people together and explore downtown, explore those restaurants and businesses in our historic district. One of those businesses, of course, is Hammer and Lewis Fine Clothiers, where Carl Salas gets all of his jackets from. On the stage, we've got Clyde's opening at City Lights Theater Company. That opens May 16th, which is also tomorrow. That's a great show directed by Aldo Billingsley, who is, I think he's chair of the drama department at Santa Clara University and is an actor in his own right. That's a wonderful show that I've gotten to take a look at early, and I hope it's you can all make it there. Also this weekend, we've got the Latinx Art Now auction at Makla in the SOFA district. This is a great opportunity for people to pick up some really great cultural art or just enjoy a good party. This is going to be out on the street in Parque de los Pobladores, across the street from Makla in the SOFA district. There's going to be music. There's going to be food, I think, from Mezcal. There's going to be drinks from Gordon Biersch, beer from Gordon Biersch, wine from Ceja Vineyard. So this will be a lot of fun. And what else is going on that I have not mentioned because I heard about it late? Three Below Theaters is celebrating its 40th anniversary this Saturday. You may say, they're not 40 years old. They're not. But the venue they're in, which started as Camera 3, opened on May 18th, 1984. They're taking advantage of that to have a little celebration. They're going to show movies from 1984 like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Purple Rain, and they're also going to show a movie not from 1984, The Man Who Knew Too Much, which is 1956. Why? That was the very first movie shown at Camera 3. Why should I go see these? To support a downtown business, and they're rolling back prices to 1984 prices.
Oh, how much?
$3.50 per ticket, $2 for popcorn. So, how about that? If you can't make it this Saturday, they're also having an open house June 1st and 2nd where they'll be showing a bunch of movies, including some local stuff. If you missed seeing the History San Jose documentary by Tricia Creason Valencia, Changing Boundaries, they'll be showing that weekend. And they'll be having a lot of discussions and seeing you can just, it's all free. They're going to have free food that weekend, so you can go there. And lastly, a few openings. Nirvana Soul has opened its new location right across the street at the MLK Library. Elise Restaurant has opened in the Foreman Nemea spot on San Fernando and First Street. And what else? Home Eats just opened a new Chinese restaurant where Flames used to be right below us. So it's open. It's officially open now. So please patronize those businesses and keep downtown thriving. Now, if you still need to know what else is going on, I once again will encourage you to check out the Downtown Association's weekly calendar. Every week they send out a listing of information, happenings on the weekends and the weekdays. You can sign up at sjdowntown.com/what's going on, or just check out the calendar there. There we are. And this is your phone, not my family.
Your family, but thank you. That sounds like so much fun. And Sandra, as you make your way up here, I'm going to just do a little plug for the happy hour tonight. Don't forget, it's that time of the month where we're going to be meeting for a no-host happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. in a downtown location. This evening's location is Mezcal, with a special thank you to Adolfo. There will be light bites, fun libations, and 3 groups coming together. Not only our Rotary Club, but the Downtown Association and the Chamber of Commerce. So that's tonight, 4 to 6 p.m. Let's drink together. But before that, let's get an update on the blind wine.
Well, hello everyone. So a couple of weeks ago I was here asking you, inviting you to be part of our blind wine tasting. So I just wanted to share some fun little slides that I think you will enjoy to see. And see, these are some of our participants. I see some of you here. Kelly, I love your expression. Where are you, Kelly? I saw you just a minute ago. It was a lot of fun. This is the part where we're all tasting. We're all kind of smelling and pretending that we're all these great wine connoisseurs.
Pretending.
And as you can see, we have some very happy faces. And of course, nice work. The Culinary Hospitality Committee had a wonderful time as well, making some yummies. And we had some poetry. And I know, Emily, I saw you here a minute ago, so I know you're around here. There you are. So great pictures, a lot of smiles, great poetry. And actually, Carl, who is here with Carmen and Larry and Marianne, presented a little poem. Carl, would you like to say anything about that experience? And Bert, would you like to respond? Oh, okay.
That really is a fun night. Carl, your wife did a magnificent job. So just everybody out here, not everybody's been to it, but when they say poetry, this is after 2 hours of drinking. And then comes the poetry, and they're talking about the wines that they consumed, and it is hysterical. And blind tasting is not as easy as you might think. I think out of the 35 foursomes, only 2 groups, I think, only got 2 of the wines right. So it's not easy to do, but it's really fun.
And as you can see in this slide, Terry and Emily were supposed to tie. They tied, and eventually one of them won. Terry was the one who was able to identify the wine. Terry, where are you? Ah, congratulations, Terry.
Team Terry, too.
Woo! So next year, please come. It'll be the 7th annual, and it'll be held in the spring. Thank you all. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for that.
As somebody who was on Terry's team, it was such a good time. Everybody was laughing and smiling. But I learned something new about Dick Conniff and Dave Peterson. They were on a team, and they stood up and they read a beautiful poem. I mean, impressive. So I queried them about that. Turns out ChatGPT wrote it for them. So I know, I'm just saying. All right, it's time for another committee announcement. Todd, come on up and tell us about Fish Day and the barbecue, please. You're surprising me coming on the left. All right, a change.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Where are we? Let's start with the Rotary Fish Day. Guess what? We caught some fish this year. Woohoo! We caught, I think it was either 4 or 5, somewhere in there. We'll get into that in just a second. So we started off the day bright and early, 6:30, 7 o'clock. Catherine helped us with the event registration. For those of you who've worked with Catherine, you know she is so incredibly organized. She did a wonderful job getting us all signed up. We were a little glossy-eyed there in the morning without enough coffee, but we got caught up. We then proceeded to put together more than 100 fishing rods for the 3rd graders that were set to show up 30 minutes thereafter. It proved to be a little more challenging than any of us would have liked. Between the lack of coffee, maybe the wrong glasses, and maybe cold hands, we had a hell of a time. But we got it done. We were then graciously welcomed by our favorite Rotary president, Karen, who needed 2 cups of coffee to get going for the day, as you can see there. Quickly followed by Brian Allen with a wonderful Rotary welcome. It's like, really, Brian? Really? He then led us through some stretches about how we could potentially catch more fish. Finally, the kids showed up right around 8 o'clock. Our volunteers there on the right are probably looking at those kids like, what in the hell have I signed myself up for? But we did pair up those volunteers with the kids, as you can see, with both Debbie and President-elect Heather. President-elect Heather's first boyfriend was there, Jay. We actually watched Jay make a donut disappear in about 15 seconds, which was pretty damn cool. Then obviously we had some more pairings. We got the kids out on the lake, which was great. Sun finally poked out right around 10 o'clock, and it just so happens that right around 10 o'clock, we caught our first fish. Come on, get excited. That is a fish and not a tadpole. I promise. It's about 3 inches, and our very own Sean Cottle was kind enough to clean it. We put it on a Ritz cracker. Yeah. Right around 11, all of a sudden, 3 2-pound trout showed up. Woohoo! Wow. which Sean expertly cleaned. It just so happens that those 3 trout were caught by the same girl from Evergreen. Honest to God. Woo! Now you wonder, how did she do it? God, we're so talented. Well, guess what? I talked to her dad, who just so happened to be an expert fisherman, who's going to be chairing this event next year. And I'm like, hey, Dad, what's the secret? He's like, pink power bait. I'm like, well, I've got the rainbow power bait with glitter. Shouldn't that work? He's like, no, pink power bait. So next year, we know we got to go with the pink power bait. Who knew? Executive chef did a wonderful job preparing both the hot dogs and tri-tip. So thank you so much for their help. Irvi handing out lunch for the kids and their families. So we took some photos with the kids. We ended up with, as I said, around 80 or 90 kids and with a ton of volunteers, which was great. After we sent the kids home, we had a little bit of fellowship, which is great. And then I want to also just say it takes a village to put this whole thing together. And so I want to acknowledge our Rotary Fish Committee, the Barry Christinas, Brian Allens, Johnny Camus, Mark McKenna, Vic Giacalone, Sean Cottle, and some others that were just very instrumental. And then also all the committees, the Photography Committee, Interact, and then also the Scouts who did such a wonderful job, and certainly the executive chefs. So with that, thank you so much. This is a nice group photo that we took. So on behalf of the Rotary Fish Committee, thank you so much for your support, and we hope to see you there next year. And you thought you got rid of me. However, I am so excited to be able to remind you that 3 weeks from tonight, we have the George Family Rotary Spring Barbecue. So if you've yet to sign up, you need to sign up. This is more than 100 years of tradition for our Rotary Club. It's a great way to come together as a group out at History Park and enjoying some wonderful libations presented by or brought to you by Bert George. And then also we have appetizers and then a wonderful dinner. So cocktails, wine, all that stuff, hors d'oeuvres starts at 5:30 with dinner right around 6:30. So we hope to see you there, and I think that's all I've got. So thank you so much. Thank you.
So who knew that rainbow glitter was not the one that would catch them all? I learn something new every day. All right, it's time for President's Time. I have an update, 3 reminders, and an opportunity. Did everybody have a nice Mother's Day, whether the mother of a child or a fur baby or just good friends? Did everybody have a good time on Sunday? No. Just because I can, and I'm going to miss you all so much, I want to tell you what I did because it was really fun. Charlie and I surprised my mom by driving to Ukiah. My dad and my sister were in on it, so they had her distracted. So we walked into the house with roses and chocolate-dipped strawberries, and when she turned around, you got the reaction you only dream of. She burst into tears. And she brought all of us in for a group hug and was so happy. And that gift of your presence is so much more important than the monetary gifts. Just remember to give your time. It's the best thing we've got. Reminder, already talked about Mezcal. You won't want to miss that. We want to support our businesses. We certainly want to support our Rotarian, Adolfo from Mezcal, and we want to build friendship. We'll see you tonight at that. And don't forget, this Sunday at 8:30 a.m. at Block Construction is our Rise Against Hunger event. We'll be packing over 12,000 meals. There will be donuts. There will be coffee. And it's a really fun time. And every 1,000 meals, don't forget, we get to hit the gong. So we've got a little bit of positive reinforcement along the way, which you know I love. And then sign up for the firesides. Doug Smith has the Fun and Friendship table in the lobby. There are 4 different firesides spanning a couple of weeks. Some are limited in space. 2 are family friendly. Have a look and mark your calendars. It's going to be a great time. And then the opportunity. Now, if you like to golf, and I'm not talking Brian Adams miniature golf, but real golf, I know, who knew? Nicholas Adams has a wonderful opportunity for you. I believe there are flyers on the table, but he is planning monthly golf outings for the remainder of 2024. So the dates have been set. May 20th at Seascape Golf Club at 9 a.m. That is $78, and that includes golf cart and the round of golf. Then on June 20th at 1, it's Berkeley Country Club. And then finally, July 20th, my birthday, at 9 a.m., it's Cinnabar Golf Club. So if you want to enjoy that time on the golf course, reach out to Nick and get signed up. Now it's time for Bert George. And Bert, can I tell you, from this viewpoint, this is the most packed this room has been, except for when we had ELC. Everybody wants to hear from you. You're famous. Thank you. Woo! I love you. This is seriously.
Well, I hope I don't disappoint. Well, thank you all for coming. I see all my friends up front, which is awesome. I have done so many speeches over the years about wine, but I rarely talk about the finances of wine for a good reason. I'm going to take my coat off here. Thank you. Nordstrom's Rack. Okay, what I'd like you to do, everybody, so I'm very sensitive about this, so everybody make sure your phone is off. Not because I care about your phone calls, I don't want you checking my facts, because half the crap that you're going to hear is probably going to be wrong. So finances, and I'm looking at my accountant, Dave Davis, finances in the wine business, finances in the vineyard business, finances in the winery business have been kind of, I don't want to say a joke, but kind of a secret, quiet thing that we don't talk about a lot in the wine business. And the best question I think I've ever had was in 2003. We had purchased a vineyard the year my dad passed away, 2001. We purchased a vineyard, and in 2003, my mom, another Rotarian, Bobby George, my mom asked, because she was on the board of directors of Joseph George Distributor for many, many years. Maybe I should go into my background a little bit. Our family's been in business for 84 years. We were liquor, wine, and beer, but we were distributors. We weren't into vineyards, we weren't into wineries. We sold wine, we sold liquor, and we sold beer. So my mom was on the board of directors when things were really good for Joseph George Distributor back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Something happened in 85, wasn't so good, so we're not in that business anymore. So you know me as the little guy with the wine shop on Meridian. But we purchased in 2001 this beautiful vineyard, some of you have been up there, in Yountville. So our first production year was 2003. And if you've ever had our little Sauvignon Blanc, I came out with it, thank you, came out with it, here it is, Mom, look what we did, this is awesome. She said, Bert, I see that you're selling it for $25. She doesn't talk like this. Bert, I see that you're selling it for $25 a bottle, but how much did it cost? I said, well, you can't ask that. And she said, no. No, you paid so much for it, and then you sell it for $25. How much did you pay to produce it? I said, Mom, you can't ask that. And it's true today. Producing wine is so expensive in the Napa Valley. Everything is double, triple, quadruple if you do something in the Napa Valley. Corks, capsules, bottles, labels, you name it. It just keeps going up every year. Labor, can you imagine labor in the Napa Valley? It's insane. So don't ask what things cost. Years ago, I was approached by some people at the Stanford School of Business to give this speech. And when they asked me, and I finally stopped laughing, I said, yeah, I'll do it. So we did 2 hours with the most wonderful people. They were young graduates. They were just getting out. I think there was a month away from graduation. They were just getting out, and I laid it all out for them. I gave them cost projections. I did all my slides. And at the end of it, no one got in the wine business, by the way. At the end of it, I said, okay, now it's time for me to ask you questions. How do you buy wine? Because they're all wine drinkers. We had a big, beautiful tasting. And one gentleman said, they all, went to Vivino on their phone. They all did the same thing everybody else does. Costco, Vivino, whatever, however you buy your wine, wine.com. But one gentleman said, I like the stories. I said, I don't know anything about anything, but I've got the stories. So I knew at that time our wine business was always going to be a success, no matter what happens. No matter what happens, good, bad, people have money, they don't have money, wine's too expensive, people stop drinking wine, didn't matter. I can tell the story. They want the romance. They want to learn about the vineyards. I've got that part of it. So I'm always going to be in business, folks, no matter what. Do you remember Pat Coletto? Do you remember the name Coletto? He was a famous builder. He built a lot of different restaurants in San Francisco, and I think there was a Coletto's in Los Gatos there for a bit. Well, Pat Coletto decided, he does this wine business thing, how hard can it be? So he spends a whole lot of money on this beautiful winery up above Lake Hennessy in Napa Valley. And one day, I think he was 4 or 5 years into it, he asks Dan Duckhorn about his investment, because he's kind of waiting, you know, he's got his name on the label, he's got a winemaker, he hired the winemaker from Chalone. Everything should be good, he's just not making any money yet. So when does the money come? So he asked Dan Duckhorn. I was pouring the Duckhorn Sauvignon Blanc here today. He asked Dan Duckhorn about money and the winery and the wine business. And Dan said, well, it's kind of like this, Pat. Start with a big pipe, like a big sewer pipe, and then go down about 100 yards. And as that pipe gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, in about 10 years, a little bit will start coming out that side. A little bit. Pat Coletto's no longer in the wine business. Years ago, speaking of finances and how the wine business goes, years ago, so before the Silicon Valley name was even mentioned, we didn't have Silicon Valley. We were, you know, the Valley of the Heart's Delight. It was agriculture, it was fun, but we were there selling liquor, wine, and beer. There was this crazy bank called Silicon Valley Bank that was lending money to wineries, lending money to vineyards. And we thought, these people are insane. And this was back in the 70s and 80s. No one was, the Napa banks weren't lending, but Silicon Valley Bank was. So I want to bring up somebody that's more of an expert at the dollars and cents of it real quick. Jaime Chavez works for First Citizens Bank, who took over for Silicon Valley Bank, but kept, Silicon Valley Bank is still around in the wine business because they have so much money invested in these wineries. And so Jaime is going to say a few words about money and banking.
Thanks, Bert, for putting me on the spot. I just found out about this when he was going to be up here. And yes, we have a bank division called, the wine division, and we've been doing lending, probably over $4 billion in lending to wineries here in California. And you probably heard of the little hiccup that happened in 2023. And that did panic a lot of our wineries because we were their bank. We were, just like startup banking, so there was a bit of a panic. First Citizens comes in, saves it, and when you look at what we've done for the wine industry over decades, it was those relationships that caused us to lose 0 of our 400 plus winery clients. It's because they knew that we've stood with them through a lot of challenging years. And I'll bring up a good example of a challenging year that was a double whammy for us. Everybody remember 2020? There was this pandemic that went on. Well, that was a double whammy for Napa. They ended up also being some serious fires. People are having to dump their production for that year. So when we look at finances to a winery, I'll give you an example of one who, 2020, so now they have to write off all the expenses for the farming. So that gets dumped. Okay, it's like, oh, write that off. Then the next year, 2021, they are looking at, now we need to actually recalibrate the wine we made, and now that is now going to be marketed as something that we're doing research and development. They can't sell that wine. Now it's just being tested and see how it comes out over the next several years with the smoke tank. Now you're getting to the 2022 year where you're like, oh, this is the year we're going to start getting that revenue we would have had from the 2020 vintage. Well, guess what? That's lost. So now the wineries are having to suffer. So it's literally a 5-year time frame when you have an epic event like that it affects the winery. They lost an entire vintage. 2022 is when they started to see some of the revenue. So then you move forward to 2023. Well, they kind of moved forward some of their allocations that were going to be sold of the 2021, moved it up. So now we're in 2024. it's kind of a reset period. Because some of the previous wine was already sold that was scheduled to be sold this year, and this is where we're really counting on this winery to start seeing some revenue from the post vintages. So kind of give you a life cycle of a really bad year that was a double whammy for the wine industry. So on that, I'm going to turn it back over to Bert. Thanks.
Not only does he know banking, he knows wine. I mean, he could work for us in a minute, and I'd love that. He's awesome. So I look at, you see a lot of wineries out there. There's new wineries all the time, new vineyards all the time. Well, I kind of put it like this. It's financing and doing these things with wineries specifically. It's kind of like restaurants, Stevie Borgenhagen. You see them all over, so you figure, well, somebody's got to be making money, right? Steve, how many restaurants actually make money? 3%. I think that's high. I look at it more like a professional sports team. You're losing money every single year. You're putting millions in. But what you're doing is you're building brand equity. So that's all great, but you don't get that until you have some type of event where you could sell that team. I guess you could borrow against it, like you borrow against a winery, but you don't make the money until you sell the team. Well, what's happened in the wine business over the years, the only people that have really made money, and I mean, I could tell you Silver Oak, Camus, Rombauer, that might be it. The rest of them just build their brands and build for the future. If you've acquired good vineyards, obviously if you're in Napa, if you acquired great vineyards, if you produced a great product and have a really good brand that you could sell, you're doing well. So over the past few years, Prisoner was really one of the first. A gentleman's name's David Finney. He's a young guy. He sells the Prisoner brand for $40 million. And it was kind of like, oh my God, somebody actually made money in the wine business. This is cool. That brand is now sold 2 or 3 times since for 200 plus. Our good friends, the Duckhorns, Dan Duckhorn, he really didn't make money in the wine business. They went through it, but until they sold, they had to have this event of the sale to actually give money back to his buddies who were all investors. Well, they're all in their 70s and 80s now, and what's happening with this now, Dan? We're tired of drinking wine with you. We kind of want to make some money. So they sold, and it's actually sold twice since then. So that's really the only time you make money in this damn business. I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions, too. One of the things, I've never been bothered, troubled, because since I started work, it said 16 in the program. I started work at 10, full-time at 16. So I've seen the ups and downs with the economy. It really hasn't made much of a difference until maybe this time. Our economy's pretty good right now. Wine sales are pretty good right now, but they're not great. But what's happened for the first time in my lifetime is spirit sales have outsold wine. Now, what does that mean? I've been to 3 weddings. Thanks, Kenny Birdsall. 2 were his daughters. 3 weddings in the last year. Watching the crowd, the young kids, they're not picking up a wine glass, maybe a little champagne to toast, cocktails. So now it proves out, I'm reading all this and I'm seeing it in person, cocktails for the first time have overtaken wine. So instead of our nice little trajectory we had, we for the first time, we had the dot-com bust, we had all these other busts. What did I write down here? The other bust. Subprime mortgage bust. So those were bad times. The year I was president, it was one of the worst times in our economy. But wine business was still pretty good, and at least people were drinking wine. So with that lovely news, do you have any questions for me? Because I am much better with questions than just yelling out a bunch of... Janica. Hello.
I know, right? So hello, Janica Clem. Bert, so I am not surprised by the spirit sales, just looking around and seeing that. But what about international sales? For a long time, wineries were in the California area were really relying on the China exports to other countries. What are you seeing in regards to international exports?
You said China. China is way down. I mean, the United States is flat or down a little. China, it dropped off. I don't know what happened to them.
Because they were huge, right?
Huge. Stopped drinking California wines, American wines. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. The only thing I could think of is, Australia, New Zealand, Chile, a lot of the other countries are having the same problem we're having, but their cost of goods is so low that, I mean, these big wineries are pretty much giving wine away. I mean, it's just really, really cheap. So that might be, American wines are just viewed as overpriced.
So I'm fascinated about this. I'm usually only thinking about the economics of my industry, but I'm also a whiskey drinker, not usually a wine drinker.
See, there you go. You're
Yeah.
part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's the solution questions? I don't want the problem questions.
But until you said this, it hadn't occurred to me. I'm going, okay, well, if you're going to make whiskey, you're going to throw the ingredients into a kettle and you're going to steam it off and do all that distillation stuff. But with the wine, you have to have acres and acres and acres of vineyards. The cost differential between the beverages is just got to be astronomical.
It is. And there's a few things working for the hard liquor industry again. Wine, Jaime hit on it. We're 5 years out. We're thinking, okay, we've got to plant today or get a contract for a grape grower today to figure out what we're going to do 4 or 5 years from now. Well, when sales are flat and you've geared up for 4 or 5 years and increases every year, we have such a glut of wine right now in distribution, in the wineries, in distribution, and actually at the retailers and restaurants. So this is not a good thing for the industry. It's great for consumers. You're going to have great wines at great prices here pretty darn quick. You buy a bottle of wine from me. Let's just go $100 bottle of wine from me. We go out tonight, we enjoy it. God, that was good. You buy a $100 bottle of whiskey, how long is that going to last? A long time. So just the economics of it, maybe not. I heard the laugh. Try just a sip, but it's going to last a heck of a lot longer. So that's just the fact. Sure.
Hi, Bert. As you know, my
Oh.
family's in the wine industry.
Yes.
And actually, you go back into the 1300s in the wine industry, which is, it's been challenging, to be sure. But one of the things I'd like to ask you about, and I don't know if you follow this winery, but I've been following him, Vampire, where the Count has been offering all of the wine club members an opportunity to buy into the winery, which right now doesn't sound like such a good idea.
Oh, God, no. God, no. Anytime anybody comes in and says, oh, I've got this idea to buy a vineyard, to buy a winery, the oldest saying in the wine business is, how do you make a small fortune in the wine business? And that is to start with a very large one. And now it's very, very large one. Our vineyard up in Napa, I thought, I'm a Silicon Valley kid. I'm going to go up and show these farmers how to do it. Do you know the tax rate on the ranch is the same as the tax rate here in San Jose? Now, how do you make that work? Just that one fact. Napa Valley now is selling for $1 million an acre for grapes. And a lot of people could care less about the grape growing and wine industry, because you buy that 3-4 acres, the county of Napa will let you build the biggest mansion that you ever could think of. There's a house 5 doors down from us right now, and it is Kobe Bryant's, one of his business partners. Had a business partner. It's, I think, 13 or 15,000 square feet. 13 bedrooms and 13 bathrooms. People are insane, but Napa has always been this world market, and everybody wants to be there. You can fly your jet into the airport and come and, and say you own Napa Valley. I don't know, but one of the things about, I'll go, we're going to go positive now. Positive. Bert, stay positive. One of the things that, if you come to our place, we're doing a brunch for Rotary pretty quick here. There's something about Napa Valley that just draws people in. And there is a feeling. It's not just, oh, I want to own a vineyard, I want an ego. Forget that. There is a feeling that I cannot explain that draws you in and you want to be there. So what does that cost? So you don't make money in the wine business. Who cares? You've got the best food, the best wine.
Bert, I heard your comment about, brand equity and all that, but some of these valuations are just staggering. And I think of Dow Vineyards. How do you reconcile that? How does that make any financial sense?
So talking to a gentleman yesterday, and he said when people go into restaurants, it's completely different when you're on corporate card than it is husband and wife going out to dinner. What's happening with I'll talk about Constellation Brands in a minute. They just bought Sea Smoke, which kills me. God, it was such a good one. What you're talking about is Dow Vineyards. Do you know Dow Vineyards? Dow Vineyards is in Paso Robles, and they sold for $900 million. And if they hit some sales numbers, it's going to be up to $1 billion. Well, that is not somebody saying, this makes sense. These are people that are on the stock market. They're like Duckhorn is now. Napa is their ticker. And when you're dealing with public money, you need to show growth. You need to see sales. And so whatever it costs on the back end, you just throw it in there and look what you own. But it doesn't make any sense. Gallo bought Rombauer for an undisclosed amount. Rombauer has a track record of cash, throwing off cash. They're one that I would have, but not $1 billion. I mean, I don't even know what $1 billion is in the wine business. So I don't even predict what things are worth anymore. You can't, because people are crazy. And they're crazier. They just keep getting crazier. But that's my sports analogy where how much are the 49ers worth today? Even the Raiders, what are the Raiders worth today? And it's ridiculous. Even the A's. What are the A's worth today? Next question.
Hey, Bert. Gay Crawford.
Yes,
and
Gay?
No one has built brand equity like you have, and largely due to your warm, generous spirit, whether it's Rotary, the Sharks, Cancer Care Point, you have been amazing. So my question to you, what is Bobby George asking you now?
Well, I'll give you some inside baseball right now. So my grandfather and my father were very successful. And they gave little Birdie this huge highway to run down. As long as I don't go too far to one side, I'm going to be fine. And she's very proud of me. But it was because my grandfather and father, who are both presidents of this club, by the way, gave me this beautiful thing to not screw up. So what I've done by opening up a retail store, we were never in retail, we were never dumb enough to own a restaurant. Because of the hours, not because we're going to lose money, because of the hours. How do you work, 7 days a week, No. So we were wholesalers. We worked Monday to Friday. My dad was home at 6 o'clock every night to have dinner. And on the weekends, we had our own thing. Well, retail, you don't do that. So when we opened up the retail shop, I thought, well, what happens if we don't do that? No one could really run a retail shop. It looks good. No one can run a retail shop and make money at it with working, or I shouldn't say working, because we work hard, open Wednesday to Friday, 1:30 to 6. You can't do that. So this is our way to give back to the community. This gave Joseph George a platform to give back and be part of our community. So that little wine shop, I think the last time pre-COVID, I think we were doing at least 1 or 2 charity events in the shop every week. So now, all of a sudden, I step back and think, oh man, I gotta be here again till 7:30. And then I see what we're doing, and I hear the people of the organizations we're helping talk about their organizations. And I think, this is why we're here. This is why I am here, for that. Thank you, Steve. Oh, get out, come on. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. It looks like you all have questions. All right, next question.
So I have a question for you, Bert, but I'm afraid to ask it after that response, because I think it's going to be a kind of a shifting it in the wrong direction, but I'll ask it
I've got
anyway.
friends in here. Watch
Yeah.
it.
No, I was going to ask it anyway. A couple years ago, I was driving through Napa, and I happened to hear a discussion on NPR about the relationship between the wine industry and the marijuana industry, and whether they should be in conflict with each other. There's a lot of tension in Napa about people opening up groves and growing, or whether they should be in cooperation, that by having all this dope in Napa Valley, it would bring young people up and they would smoke and they would drink wine and they would become familiar with wine and become. So I'm interested in this sort of your thought, not only towards spirits, but other forms of distracting ourselves that may be taking away from wine as a preferred
Okay,
option.
so that's, when we opened up to have marijuana, I am not a smoker myself. Didn't smoke cigars, even though we sold cigars and cigarettes back in the day. Never smoked myself. But obviously I can't put anybody down for doing whatever they want to do because I'm selling wine and liquor and beer all my life. So there was I'm not even going to say who it is because they're too close to me. But there was a gentleman in our little town of Yountville that wanted to have a little smoke shop. Oh my God. So we always knew that in Napa Valley it is grape, God, and family. Grape being first. People were up in arms. And I didn't really see, maybe I was wrong, tourism is tourism, but boy, it was shot down faster than you can believe. People were so upset with this guy for even mentioning something like that. So I don't know if that's the answer to your question, but I know in Napa, grape, God, family. Stevie? Oh, Norm, you have the
in
mic.
California, how big a component is the organic wine production? Is it going up or down?
So organic, to actually put that on the label and put the signs in your vineyard, it's very, very regulated, depending on what organic you're looking for. You can get an organization to say you're organic by just not spraying Roundup sometime. But to really do it right, to be green, is a big deal. And I learned that years ago in farming, that we want to be gentle, very gentle with the land, because we're stewards of the land, right? But we don't want to be stupid, because grape, right? God, Mother Nature, but grape first. So we do use some things, and a lot of people do that. One of the things that it's hurting, I think, maybe not hurting, but not helping, organic, is the consumer doesn't care. People don't come into the shop asking for organic wines. They really don't care. And I think if they push, like I do with vegetables and stuff, and fruit, I think you would see more of it. But it's a non-starter. Stevie? Oh, Finn?
Yeah, Bert. In San Jose State in the 1960s, Darryl Satui was a fellow that could sell anything, even T-shirts. He doesn't know me from a bale of hay, but I've been watching him as a businessman. Now, with inflation and all this going on, what is he doing, and why the hell don't you guys just raise prices 25%?
I love it. Okay, so Darryl Satui, Dario is his name now. It was Darryl, now it's Dario. He went back to his Italian roots. He is an absolute genius marketer. The ultimate sale for any winery would be from the winery to you direct. I don't want to go through a wholesaler. I don't want to go through a broker. I don't want to go through a restaurant. I want to sell it to you direct. So you could pretend starting a winery saying, I want to go direct to consumer 50 or 60%. 80 would be incredible, 90, but reality hits where people aren't coming to your door and buying your wines. So you have to search out. Dario Satui was grandfathered in St. Helena, grandfathered in to have picnics at the winery. And he sells 100% consumer direct. So he is printing money and has been for decades. And that's why he built Castello de Amoroso. He hired Italian craftsmen to come over with brick and built the most beautiful place. The first year that it was open, it was in St. Helena, it's in St. Helena. It was the #1 visited place in the Napa Valley and still is. People come from all over the world to see this architecture. You couldn't do that unless you had cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, and he did it and still does it. What's that? Yes, he is. Go Spartans. Yes, sir.
Bert, I've got this concept for a Lebanese restaurant in downtown San Jose. And we're selling 2% shares for $1 million, and I'm wondering, can I put you down for it too?
Absolutely, Steve. It sounds like a great idea.
Wonderful. You're in. My real question is, talk about the evolution of retailing, the effect of Costco and the effect of the big websites, and tell your story about Insignia, if you remember it.
Oh, I do. Okay, so I have really a love-hate relationship with Costco. Costco is the largest retailer of wine in the world. So, obviously, they're my competition. I have a little retail wine shop. They can kill me. They could crush me like an ant that I am. Except they were our tenant for 10 years in Santa Clara. And we took them on when Costco couldn't rub 2 nickels together. If people remember back in the early 80s, it was Price Club. Costco could not buy Tide detergent from Tide because, same with Coca-Cola, they were on cash basis with Coca-Cola because they looked at it saying, oh no, this crazy Costco company is opening up all these warehouses, one bad location, and they're out. So everybody had them on cash and credit, and if you remember the early days, they didn't sell Tide, they sold Kirkland brand garbage, whatever it was. And it was hysterical, but they were our tenant in Santa Clara. So I love Costco. Costco sent their check in the week before it was due. We love them, and they were there for 10 years. And when they opened that Costco in Santa Clara, it was their largest grand opening they had ever had at the time. So I remember the good days with Costco, and now the only thing that happens with Costco with me is when one of my brands gets in trouble, and this is going to happen more now in the next couple years because there's so much supply out there. When some of our brands get in there and all of a sudden they have cut their price, and I have one of my customers walk through our shop and say, I just saw, Duckhorn's, Cabernet for $39.99, and here I've got it at what they're selling it for at the winery, $80. Well, it makes us look really, really bad. So most of the wineries try to protect, but sometimes you get rogue wholesalers that own too much wine. You get a rogue salesman that'll just sell it in there when it shouldn't be in there. Years ago, hello.
Hi. Is it time?
Keep going,
I hip checked them. All right, you guys want to go on?
Yeah.
No, what time is it?
What? It's 1:14.
Oh, get out of here.
Give it
I'm
together,
sorry.
mister.
Okay, anyway.
All right, 5 more minutes?
No, you don't want
Yeah,
that.
they want to hear from you. Yes.
So, Joseph Phelps, if you're a wine club member, you're paying $150 a bottle for Insignia. It wins Wine of the Year. Costco has it for $99.99. So if you are on their, Joseph Phelps, you're buying directly from them and you're paying $50 more a bottle. That stuff cannot happen. If you have any pride in your brand, that cannot happen.
That's okay. We can take your last question if you want to. You're good? Was that amazing? Awesome. The business acumen combined with the big, beautiful heart wins every time. Thank you, Bert. We've made a donation in your honor for sharing your time with us to Loaves and Fishes. Won't want to miss next week. We'll be hearing from Dan Schnur on speaking on political consulting and commentating. There's that tiredness coming out. Reminder, don't forget to bus your tables. And then my final thought for the day, in thinking about Mother's Day and relationships, I came across a little story I loved, and that is when you're a mother, or perhaps just a very good friend, When you see that there are 4 slices of cake left, but there are 5 people around the table, you simply say, I never wanted a piece anyway. Don't forget to be kind. See you next Wednesday.